This is Pop Culture Confidential, and I'm Christina Yerling Biru. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I had such a great time speaking with my guest this week. Alexej Manvelov plays Akram on Netflix hit show Department Q, and he brings a cool, calm intensity to the performance. It's both commanding and magnetic. His character Akram is a Syrian refugee with a police background who joins Edinburgh's cold case unit, working alongside Detective Carl Mørck, played by Matthew Goode. In showrunner Scott Frank's take on the best-selling novel, Manvelov gives a layered performance that's made Akram a real fan favorite, and he's earned plenty of praise from critics too. We talked about how he built the character, the choices he's made in some key scenes, and his incredible personal journey, from growing up in the Soviet Union to moving to Sweden at age 10, and what it took to start over. He also shared two of his biggest inspirations in life, his mom and Sylvester Stallone. Acting has always been his passion, and early on he was pulling night shifts at a hotel while rehearsing monologues and chasing auditions. That hustle eventually led to acclaimed roles in things like Top Dog, Chernobyl, and now Department Q. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored to meet you. You literally played my favorite character of the season, and so well. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited for all the success the show is having. So yeah, thank you.
These are some of the things that critics are saying about you and your portrayal of Akram in Department Q. You stole every scene. Alexej brings a low-key, quietly deadly vibe. He nailed not only the lines, but also the mannerisms. A quiet badass.
Well, I haven't read that, but yeah, thank you. The critics, that's wonderful.
So for the listeners, you walked in here and you're like a Hollywood star, so cool. And because I think it's so interesting with Akram is his look. His suit, that little notebook that he uses, it's just such a different vibe from you personally. What are those details in the look?
Well, I have to give credit, first of all, to the writing. Scott and Chandy for creating this character, and you see Adler Olsen as well, of course, and those things that you're talking about to the costume department.
I feel like there's almost in your eyes and in your mannerisms and how you're holding yourself, you can feel that this man is carrying something.
Yeah, there's a backstory for Akram, and we collaborated around it, and I had a bunch of suggestions, and Scott toned it down a little bit, and he comes from Syria and a war-torn Syria, and not only that, there's of course there's some kind of darkness within his background. He was working for the police, but he's not really acknowledging that. Is kind of ambivalent around that, and there's a backstory to that, but it's not really detailed in the show. So I think it's great because that keeps some sort of mystery, and then you want to unpack and you want to know more about him. So I think it's just great writing.
It's so brilliantly done. It's like you're peeling an onion throughout the series.
Yeah.
And he's also a very funny character.
Yeah.
Talk about the conversations. You said that some of the suggestions that when you talked to Scott were yours.
It was around building the character, creating the backstory. So there was an issue about his wife, whether she's alive or not, and who is she and what happened, and we just worked on that background. But it's not something I'm going to elaborate because that might change. All we know is that she's not alive. Yeah.
Okay, season 2.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get to that. Your performance, again, so restrained. He feels incredibly calm. You don't play him showy or loud, which for me really gives him an authority as a character. Did you model him on anyone particular? I saw a reference to Omar Sharif.
Yeah. It's Omar Sharif, but Omar Sharif is not a calm guy, but it was more Omar Sharif's charm and maybe wit. But he was a father, so I drew from that. He's a father, and he's a father figure for Rose in kind of in a way, but that's also even more so, I think, Jamie Sivs, I hope I'm pronouncing his surname right, but also Carl. So I think they're all kind of different facets of a father figure for her. So, and he has 2 daughters, and he has to be a contrast to Carl, who's this flamboyant personality, and Akram is a contrast, being calm and collected, but also lethal. So, yeah.
But he very often makes a good choice while everyone else is sort of going off the rails. The calmness of Akram is actually what's solving the issue at hand.
Again, yeah, that's great writing. So I just feel so lucky to get a part like that. I call them grateful parts. When you get a part for which you should be so grateful because you get all the cool lines, you don't have all that pressure that a lead has, for example, and stuff like that. And he's a truly, truly grateful character for me to play. So, yeah, I think that my source for that, his demeanor is like he's been around so much. So these stuff are not don't get his pulse up too much. He's pretty collected.
Yeah, what's going on in Edinburgh, I mean, it's nothing compared to what he's been through.
Right, yeah. So that's kind of the source for his calm demeanor, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about how brilliantly Scott has made, because it's not just about a lead, it's about this entire group. And everyone is kind of stuck, right? Akram is stuck sort of culturally and with his background and what's happened to him. Matthew Goode's Mørck is stuck in Scotland for his personal reasons. Rose, the secretary, she wants to advance and kind of stuck in her position. I mean, Merritt is literally stuck in the hyperbolic chamber. Oh, yeah. It's such an incredible way that he brought this team together. When you first were given the script, how did you sort of feel about the entirety of the group?
If you're talking about the ensemble, I was so honored to be among these people. And when we had the first read through of the first 2 episodes, I think I was petrified, because I was like, okay, I better step my game up and keep up, because they are it's the best company of actors that I've ever worked with. The level of professionalism and just the craft in all of them is just so high. And even the day players, the actors who came in and just did 2 or 3 days on the show were such a high level.
Yeah, I know a lot of showrunners like Tony Gilroy, who I've talked to before, and Scott also, that the day players in Britain and the UK, I thought amazing. I mean, on every level.
I remember Tom, who plays the brother of Chloe Pear's character, Merritt. And he came in and he just, we were like, yeah, but what is aphasia? And he just laid it out, like the science behind it and all the stuff. And I'm like, I look at him and I'm like, oh my God, this guy really has done his research, And I was like, oh my, I haven't even read the books. But it was, I mean, we all work differently, but they just inspired me so much to really work and be on their, I just tried to be on their level.
Do you think Akram wants to be a police?
Yeah, I think he has absolute need to be, I don't know, a savior, um, for lack of a better word, but it's because we all have a drive, what drives us, and to him, considering his wife and stuff like that, it's just that he has a need to try to help people, and he'll do anything, and it makes him whole. So he's also broken, but he's not showing it. It's one of his, like, the more human aspects of him is like, it's so important for him to work with this because it makes him whole.
He has a really great line, and I'm sorry if I don't remember it correctly, but Mørck asks him something about, and he says, about working back in Syria. Were you one of the good guys? And he says, well, when you know who the good guys are, tell me, or something like that, which tells you a little bit about how he maneuvers and observes the world.
Yeah, I think I relate to him in that way, because to me there are no good guys or bad guys. I think this was research I did for another character, and I listened to an interview of a CIA agent, and she said, like, everyone thinks that they're the good guy. So everyone has their reasons to do what they do, and it all depends on perspective and stuff like that. But there's the aspect of violence, which I am completely, me personally, am completely against. But to understand the character, you have to understand why they think it's okay. And so I think that's just, again, Scott's brilliant writing is so humanistic. It's just so, by the right word, it's just so profound and deep, and he understands people very well. So yeah, that's why I think these characters are so alive.
Everyone is a developed character. That's
empathetic was the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Why do you think Akram is he's the one that picks out the case, and he's the one that just by reading the file knows that his suspicion is that she's still alive? Why do you think he has that intuition? Have you thought about that?
Well, when we did the scene, and Scott's like, okay, so you pick up the file. So in the file, these are real files. It's a great set design, period. But the detail was just insane, because in those files are actually files.
The whole case? Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, but and I'm like, okay, so, but it's not a file. But the one thing I thought, that, he's not a stupid guy, Akram, and he wants this job, and he wants this department to stay afloat. So he has to find a high-profile case. And in my head, he saw that she was an advocate.
Right.
And he was like, okay.
She has a high position.
She has a high position. She worked for the right side of the law. And it was unclear, because something had to catch his eye in that moment. Because he couldn't read the whole files, but he was just reading through them. Also, like what you say, intuition. Like, I think that people who work with these type of things, they do have an intuition about it. So yeah.
And when he does kick someone's ass, you can see that he knows what he's doing, but he's also able to control himself. He never seems to just sort of fly off the handle. Do you think that something happened to him, that he's worked on controlling himself?
I think that he just doesn't like it. Yeah. I think that he doesn't like violence, but he feels that, well, I use the force that is necessary to protect innocent people. And that's his logic. But he doesn't enjoy it.
But he's so smart about it when he throws that guy down the stair. I mean, he makes him leave the apartment.
I don't know if I'm gonna disclose this information, actually. But the scene was not like that from the start.
Oh, gosh, you have to disclose.
All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I was supposed to drag him from that door to the staircase. And then I saw the actor who does that part, Mr. Solomon, right, on the day. And I looked at him, I looked at Scott, and I said, there's no way. He's huge. He's absolutely huge. I mean, I thought it would not be believable. And Scott said, oh, okay, so what do you suggest? I said, well, let him, use his brain. Just, get him to the stairs, and then it just pushes him. I said, okay, let's try it. And then we tried it, and it became so comical because the guy is so big, and Akram doesn't know that. And when the door opens, he looks up, and he's like, yeah, I'm not going to drag this guy. So it kind of grew into that, which I loved. I just think it works really well.
It's perfect. I mean, that's what you see, that this is not just someone who quickly resorts to violence. He's thinking about it. He's strategic.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's also not delusional. I'm going to manhandle this guy. I mean, he was huge. And the guy was so, the actor was so great. He was also a stunt man, so he fell down those stairs, a couple of times. So credit to him.
Personally, I felt that Frank has really elevated the story by kind of moving away from the traditional Scandi noir and really making it unmistakably Scottish.
Yeah.
In the feel, in the humor. How did this experience differ from work you've done before? Because you've done a lot of Scandinavian. I don't know if you'd say it's noir or crime dramas, things like that.
The definition or the term Scandi noir does not derive from us. It derives from countries outside of Scandinavia. So first I heard about it was we were promoting a show Before We Die in I think we were in Cannes, and we were promoting it, and people were like, Scandi noir, Scandi noir. I'm like, what are they talking about? Oh, no, you don't understand. It's very popular genre abroad. And then so to me, I understand what people mean by Scandi noir, but I think it's associated with the Swedish word for that is vemod. A translation does not pop up in my head right now. It's not anxiety, and it's not torment.
Kind of
it's
sadness or a
darkness.
It's
a very specific word for Scandinavia, and I think it's because we have a lot of darkness, during the year, and so we have to be kind of, poetic in our existence in that, and so I think it's just a cultural facet, but I find the Scottish people warm and funny and just kind, and they don't have as much of vemod as the Scandi. I might be wrong.
Less reserved, right?
They're not reserved at all. We do not like to talk about things. We don't like friction in our conversations in Scandinavia, or specifically Sweden. I think Danes don't mind it, but in Sweden we do not like friction. And as some people joke, like when we had social distancing way before it was required by COVID,
no problem changing.
Yeah, it was like, well, my life just didn't change at all. So, that's the big difference, I think, in the energy. But the Scottish humor is just it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
I've read that you said that your mother was one of your biggest inspirations. Can you tell me about her?
Well, she's so she wanted to become an actor And she did, when she was really young, she did an audition for this famous actress in Moscow.
You were born in Moscow?
I was born in Moscow, so I have a really complicated, for people, not for me, but for people, complicated background. My father is Kurdish from Syria. My mother is Russian, and I was born in Moscow, and then I moved to Sweden when I was a child. So I'm basically nothing and everything. So to me, people are people, and that's it. So for me, it's not. I think just it's interesting. The more cultural influences you get, the more of a complex human being you can become, and the more empathy you can have towards different cultures and people, and it's a unifying thing to be. So she was auditioning for this actress on a Sunday morning, and she probably was hung over. This actress met her in the doorway with a cigarette and said, "Okay, do your thing." And she did, and she looked at her in a very Russian way. She said, "Honey, you'll never be an actor."
Oh, no.
And so that was the end of my mother's acting career. And I think, like, my theory is that she tried to give her a lesson that you can't give up, even if people tell you that you can't do it, because that's part of it. But when I was a child, a little baby, my mother read me all these stories, fairy tales and stuff like that, all the classic things, and she acted out all the parts in the stories, like, flawlessly.
Oh, amazing.
So, yeah, so, and she made me read poetry and stuff, and all of that. Took me to museums and concerts and the movies. So she's basically responsible for me wanting to become an actor, I think.
And so is Sylvester Stallone, I understand.
Yeah, exactly. When I was 7, my father left for Sweden, and we didn't have Hollywood movies in Soviet Union. It was basically Bollywood movies and domestic movies. So when I first saw Hollywood movies, I just fell in love, because that's that storytelling, that arc, drama work is just so different. It's so appealing to a spectator. And I got to watch, when I was 7, films like Scarface and and Rambo. And Rambo First Blood, it was. Sylvester Stallone, with that haircut, looked exactly like my father. Amazing. But with muscles, And so, my father being gone, I saw my father in Sylvester Stallone. Oh. And I screamed. And the interesting thing, I think, is that I wanted to be an actor like Sylvester Stallone, so I could make a difference between the actor and the character. So I didn't want to become Rambo at all. I said, I'm not interested in becoming a soldier running around, I wanted to be an actor who plays the soldier. So, yeah, that's how it all began.
It's also a great movie.
It's a great film. It's a great film. I think, like, Sylvester Stallone is like Rocky 1, Rambo First Blood, and then there is a film called Copland.
Mm-hmm. Great.
That is his best. Yeah. That's his best work.
What was the transition like for you coming to Sweden?
Well, it did more impact on me as an adult than as a kid. I think as a child, I didn't quite think about it. But it was different, yeah. It was different. I was very popular in Russia as a kid, because my grandmother was a doctor, so everybody in our village knew who she was. And so I was kind of the...
And your dad looked like Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, my dad was a successful translator, worked at the hospital, and my mother also, like, educated, and just I think we were the only ones who had a phone in our building. So I was a popular kid. I had like toys. My mother was translator for the German Olympic team. So I had like toys from Germany. And, you know, in Soviet Union where you couldn't have foreign stuff. And then I came to Sweden, and my father was a refugee. So his status completely dropped to below zero. And so did mine. And I became this refugee kid who didn't have anything. So the contrast was in that sense, and also there was a lot of bullying going on because I was like one of very few foreigners in my neighborhood. So, but I was not the only one bullied because I was a foreigner. It was a lot of bullying, just period. And that was the stark contrast that it was allowed because I remember in Soviet at least it was reprimanded, even though there were other stuff that was not great, but it wasn't allowed to gang up on one person.
Sweden's not an easy country to come to.
No, you think that it is, but yeah, it can be hard. But you know, kids are kids, so. Yeah.
I feel that you have a very observational quality, and you use that in your role. Several of your characters, including Akram, are very observational. For me, having many different cultures and many different places makes you develop an observational skill to survive. Is that something you feel you have done as well, and do you use that in your characters?
I think you're spot on. Because you don't, I think it is a survival mechanism because you don't quite belong fully to anything. But I think it's a gift because it's an illusion.
I do too.
Yeah. It's like this tribalism thing that people, I think it's very destructive. And I don't believe that's the way of humanity. I think we're one species and that's it. There is no if, buts, or maybes. I think we're one species and that's it. And all the things that divide us are artificial. And as a mixture of things, I mean, we have all the religions in our family. So my father is Muslim, my mother is Christian, you know. We have all the like backgrounds, you know, from growing up in Soviet Union. It was a parallel universe, you know, comparing to you know, Western capitalism and materialism, and then you have the spirituality, and then you have the atheistic side, and all of that makes you just to question everything, and I think that's a gift. To be able to do that, because that forces you to create your own opinion and analysis of a situation. So, and for an actor, I think it's a great tool to not have an alliance, to be able to take any form, and not be like disloyal to what you do. So, if I'm anything, I'm an actor.
I think that's why Akram possibly is good at what he does too. He can see things that other people can't because they're so in their own culture. And
it's a kind of objectivity that I think is helpful.
After school, you started working in construction, and you were a welder, right? You memorized lines at night and monologues and wanted to be an actor. How was that?
Well, I studied theater in, I don't know what the equivalent is in America, but not high school, I guess. I don't know, between 16 and 19. So I went to theater school. But then life came, and I had to, pay the bills. So I've always been good with my hands, like painting, drawing, building stuff. It just comes naturally to me. And I just took a course in welding and sheet metal technician work, and in 3 months I had a job, and I I worked with my friend, so we had a lot of fun. It was fun. It was fun making money and do stuff. And just, when you work with metal, you do stuff. It just looks impossible. Like, oh my God, I did that. I mastered
very
this
gratifying.
metal. Yeah, it's very gratifying. But I worked in construction a bit, and then I got fired from that job because I went to auditions, and my boss said, "Well, if you leave now, you don't have to come back." I said, "Well, then I won't come back," And then I worked at a hotel, and that's more of what you are talking about, because I worked at the hotel at night. I was a night portier. I was alone because everyone slept. And that's when I read the lines, literally read lines aloud. I did stand up, so I practiced my material. And then in the morning, I went back home, slept a little bit. And then in the evening, I went to perform and then back to work at the hotel. But then I got fired from that too, because I was the worst night portier, I think, in the world. And then I went to cinema studies, actually.
Is it true that you studied neuroscience?
Not officially, but I studied all kinds of behavioral science.
For acting specifically? Or
yeah, it was about so I started with behavioral science and psychology because I understood that if you want to understand people, analyze characters, it's really helpful if you know psychology. And then once you start with psychology, you go into behavioral science. And once you go to behavioral science, you go to neurology. So it's all connected. And that's my interest, is just how people work, how memory works, why people do what they do. And there's a lot of answers in those fields. There's great course by Robert Sapolsky at Stanford University. And the whole thing is out on YouTube. So you can actually just go through the whole course.
So when you're working at night in a hotel, you go that course at the same time. See, that's how it's done.
That,
But this, of course, eventually led to big acting roles in Scandinavia and in Sweden. What was the transition for you, like going from acting in Scandinavia and Sweden to like Chernobyl and Netflix and this now? Was it a dramatic difference?
No, I think, no, when it comes to doing the actual work between action and cut, it's exactly the same. But the pressure, the anticipation is something, it's additional work that you have to calm yourself down, not get too much into that, and just focus on the scene, to be in the scene. But I learned that in auditioning. I learned that to not think about the job behind the audition, but think about the scene you're doing. Because if you think about what this job can do for you, then you're not in the scene. So, but yeah, it's a struggle. It's because it's nerve-wracking being an actor, performer.
Are you heavy researcher for every role?
Kind of, but it depends on. All the assignments have different type of research for me. So I just figure out what's important for this particular character. So for Akram, it was a lot of linguistic work. Like I started learning Arabic to get the right cadency, to understand, because my father is an expert in Arabic, but he never taught me. I'm very pissed off about that.
Yeah, parents need to teach their kids their language.
It's a huge language, and then it's like there's different dialects and stuff like that. But I thought because I decided to do Arabic accent only, and I needed to understand the grammar, how the language is structured. So that was the biggest, I think, work with this particular character. But then there are other characters, like for Top Dog, it was law. Like I read a lot about like trials, prisons, Swedish prison system, gangs, stuff like that. So yeah, it's different for every character.
What are your goals? What's the next move?
I don't have. Goals. I just try to, see what's in front of me and try to do the most interesting stuff, and that's it. I don't have any expectations or goals, or I'm going to do this, I have to reach that. It's just I try to apply this philosophy of going with the river and using the stream to carry you.
But we want a season 2.
Well, yeah, make it happen. It's up to you guys.
If you ask us, we're there.
Yeah. I think it's a question of time. I believe. I hope.
Before I let you go, tell us 3 things we should watch. Your favorite films or series or.
Ooh, oh my God! You put me on the spot. Let me think. Oh man, it's just like I feel conflicted now.
There are no wrong answers.
Okay, wait. Give me a second.
Yeah.
So I would say Army of the 12 Monkeys. Watch Orwell, 1984, and yeah, Rambo: First Blood. I think it's a great movie.
Yes, I agree. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been super fun, and I can't wait to see everything else you do, including season 2.
All right, great. Thanks.
Thank
you. Cheers.
Thank you so much for listening. Pop Culture Confidential is part of the Evergreen Podcast Network. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.